The ultimate reality is that if humans cannot find meaning, they start to fill that void with pleasure. Scroll for 10 minutes, time flies. Read for 10 minutes, and your attention flies. This isn't about lack of discipline, it's a rewiring of your brain's reward system, engineered by companies that profit from your distraction. In the absence of meaning, we default to pleasure, but pleasure without purpose becomes a trap of a different kind. You scroll not because it satisfies you, but because it numbs the quiet discomfort of being unanchored. And the more we escape into shallow stimulation, the further we actually move from what makes us feel alive. So myself Rahul and I have walked the path of personal growth from the past half decade. I share tools, frameworks, ideologies and information that will help you lead your life with clarity, precision and purpose. In this video, we will understand the science of dopamine, the trap of novelty, how tech companies compete for your neural estate, and finally, how to escape dopamine failure. Let's proceed. First of all, let's understand the evolution part. Our brains have been evolved in simplicity, where sugar came from natural fruits, where beauty came from real faces, and novelty from slow rhythms of nature. But right now we are living in a world of exaggeration, where ultra-processed foods, adult material, short-form content, and video games and all sorts of quick pleasure things are running our lives. And this is called hypernormal stimuli. We are not chasing joy anymore. We are just chasing pleasure. What is unnatural about today's world isn't technology, but its intensity. And there's actually a big problem with hypernormal stimuli. How? Look, our dopamine runs in two modes, tonic and phasic. Tonic dopamine is your baseline, your inbuilt drive to act, move, build and focus. Phasic dopamine is the spike, a sudden burst when you encounter something exciting or rewarding. In a healthy brain, both work in balance. Tonic keeps you steady and grounded. Phasic spikes act like signposts, guiding you towards meaningful pursuits. But in this modern generation, this balance breaks. Every time you consume junk food, every time you scroll, every time you do any sort of instant gratification activity that doesn't require any effort from your side but still gives you enough dopamine to feel that pleasure, you invoke a phasic spike. And because of too many spikes, your brain slowly adapts and pulls your baseline down. That means your tonic dopamine down. And the result, you become dependent on external stimulation just to feel normal. And without it, everything feels lifeless. Think of reading, deep work, stillness, etc., etc. And one more fact that you need to know is that your brain is always adjusting to the level of stimulation it receives. This is termed as hedonic adaptation. The process that once felt exciting now feels normal or even boring. Think of scrolling. The first time you scroll, it's stimulating. The 10th time, it's numb. This is the same reason why junk foods stop tasting good after a while. Why a new purchase doesn't excite you for your whole life. Because your brain adapts. Now it wants novelty. But as we already discussed, we have been living in a world of hypernormal stimuli. And once your brain adapts to high dopamine activities, the low or normal or natural dopamine activities feel painfully boring. So now you are not just restless, but you have trained your brain to reject the very things that will build your future. When high becomes normal, reality feels like withdrawal. And to be very honest, it's not all our fault, but our systems have been designed to hijack our attention. Every swipe, every scroll, every behavior that you do, it's not just random, It's data that you are feeding into the algorithm. Your attention is their currency. The longer they keep you there, the more ads they will show and the more cash they can actually make out of you, of your attention. This is called as attention economy, a marketplace where your focus and attention is the product and every platform is in a race to dominate your nervous system. They don't want your money, they want your mind. And companies have actually studied very well how to take advantage of dopamine economy or attention economy. Our brain is wired to seek novelty or newness. In nature, when we found something new, it could mean food, danger, or opportunity. It was actually a survival instinct. But in this modern generation, novelty is everywhere. It's infinite, and our brain responds to it like it's urgent, like it's meaningful, even though that may be the most meaningless thing ever. The constant search for what's next rewires your brain to reject what's now, to feel agitated when things slow down, to feel bored if something doesn't deliver a quick dopamine hit. This is how novelty becomes a drug. If we zoom out, you're not addicted to your phone, you're addicted to the next new. And the solution often comes up as dopamine detox. You might have probably heard of this phrase before, like no screen, no stimulation, no sugar. 1 week of monk mode and your life will change. No. Listen to this very closely. You can't detox dopamine. Dopamine isn't the problem. It's not poison. In fact, it's essential. Dopamine is the reason you get out of bed. If there's no dopamine, you will be lying up till you die. The real problem isn't dopamine. It's dysregulation. When you're addicted to novelty, things that will take you ahead feels pointless. So what happens when you instantly cut off stimulations like sugar or screens? Your brain doesn't thank you. It becomes irritated. It becomes restless and frustrated. The process actually takes time. It's not about 1 week of fast. It's not about 1 month of fast. No. It's a lifestyle. It's about giving your brain space to come down from hyper-stimulation and relearn how to find joy in things that take time, like focus, discipline, and slow progress. So yes, the periods of low stimulation, or if we say in simple words, dopamine detox, can help, but only if paired with intentional living, only if paired with meaningful activities in your life. So now I would like to address the cultural shift that we are going through, because I feel it's not a personal problem. It's actually a cultural problem. The culture has shifted from long-term growth to chasing short-term hits. Something has actually changed in our society. Something has actually shifted. Previously, we used to value people who were master at their craft, who did things for years, who took time to build things. But now we glorify hustle, not mastery. We glorify quick wins instead of long-term growth. We seek stimulation, not value. And slowly, we ourselves with our own hands have created a world where boredom is seen as a problem, where stillness is seen as boring. And the solution is often just one click away. That's the cultural shift I am talking about. We no longer pursue real growth. We escape into stimulation. We have replaced the slow, deep rewards of purpose and progress with the shallow, fast rewards of novelty and escape. This is why reclaiming your focus isn't about quitting apps or turning off notifications. It's about pushing back against a culture which says, if it's not stimulating, it's not worth the time. The modern world teaches you to crave intensity, but your soul still longs for depth. The philosopher Viktor Frankl says, when a person can't find a deep sense of meaning, they distract themselves with pleasure. And dopamine was never designed to reward you for scrolling. or doing any sort of instant gratification activity, but it was designed to pull you, to drive you towards the meaningful goals of life. When you scroll, when you look at screens for hours, you get fleeting pleasure. In simple words, that is a cheap dopamine. When you actually do things that are meaningful, that you actually value, which is worth your time, you get joy. And that, my friend, is the most powerful dopamine. This is why finishing a book, doing deep work, or building something feels difficult at first, but deeply satisfying at the last stage when it's finished. Because the real reward isn't delivered, it's earned. When you stop chasing dopamine and start pursuing purpose, dopamine doesn't disappear. It finally finds its home. And in this modern generation, if you're not paying with money, you're paying with cheap dopamine. In the old economy, goods were sold to make profit. But in the new economy, attention is being sold to make profit. Because the real product isn't the app. It's your data. It's your attention, focus, and time that they are harvesting. And with every swipe and every click, they get your data and they feed it back to you, keeping you hooked into the platform. Finally, they harvest your attention and make profit. And that is costing you. Protect your focus, attention, and willpower. They are hijacking your attention. Be very aware. Now let's move to the main part of this particular piece of content. That is how to rebuild your dopamine reward pathway. You don't have to quit dopamine, you have to raise your baseline. Because when your baseline rises, you stop chasing shallow pleasure and so you can focus on the meaningful. And here are a few real actionable steps that you can take in order to raise your baseline. First of all, reduce artificial spikes. Short form content, adult material, ultra-processed foods, and all sorts of hypernormal stimuli, reduce those from your life. They aren't just costing you your physical and mental health, they're costing you your purpose. What I mean by that is that they are stealing your ability to concentrate, to focus, to actually find joy in what's meaningful in your life. And these things don't feel immediately good. And that is the very nature of natural dopamine activities. That is the very nature of real dopamine. But what you're essentially doing is you're training your brain to find joy in the process, not just in the payoff. Move your body daily. Exercise actually raises your baseline naturally, without overstimulation. Your mind always follows your body. Sunlight, sleep, and stillness. Morning sunlight regulates dopamine rhythms, deep sleep restores them, and the moment of silence without input strengthens them. Pursue long-term projects. This is the dopamine reset nobody is talking about. Work on something that takes weeks, months, or even years to build. Finish a book. Work on your mental health, work on your physical health, work on your beliefs, work on literally your identity. These things take time, and these things actually raise your baseline and make you a normal human. You're no longer chasing those abnormal dopamine hits that actually plays with your purpose of life. In a world designed to steal your attention, protect it like your life depends on it. Because in many ways, it does. Click on the first link in the description to get your free habit tracker and the news to the upcoming products. Take a moment to think and comment. What long-term goal will you be pursuing? See you soon.